Welcome to the Blame It on the Boogie podcast. We're just three better than average brothers, just here to talk a little thing that we can call sports. Get a little tired and all that good stuff because it's late, but we still going. We moving on up. But guess what, y'all? This is episode number 2. Trey, Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, boy. Michael.
And on this 23rd episode, you got your normal cast of characters. You got Antoine DOOZE Williams from Florissant, Missouri.
On in.
Friend. He ready for number 22. You got Dorian D. Almighty Wonder Mountain from Richmond, Virginia. The super freak, he got it on his shirt.
Richmond, Virginia. But you can't spell Hippocrates. Now you talking about Richmond, Virginia.
that dude say California, don't it? Wherever you from. And of course, you got me, Rod D, right here in the Detroit, Michigan. But it ain't about where we at. It's all about where we from. And where we from?
The boogie.
The boogie.
Blame it
We're
on
from the boogie.
Don't blame it on the sunshine.
Nope.
Don't blame it on the moonlight.
Don't blame it on the good time.
Blame it on the boogie.
Anyway, we want to thank each and every one of y'all for continuing to watch, continue to join us, continue to follow us. But as usual, press the button to like us, subscribe, get them notifications, do all that stuff that you're supposed to do on all the different social media things. Get our numbers going up because we know y'all want to continue to get more content from us, and we want to continue.
Y'all know y'all like us.
So keep
y'all know y'all like us.
Just keep doing it. Keep doing it.
You know you like it.
So, at this time, as usual, we're going to start with our brother D Almighty. Doran, tell them the people what we talked about last time, since it has been 2 weeks since the last episode.
Yeah, D, what we do?
I don't remember either.
Let's see. Well, last time we talked about Crawford, the Crawford-Spence fight, and Crawford dominating Spence. We talked about more ESPN layoffs. We talked about women's professional football, about Katie Ledecky being the GOAT, even though I hate that term, the GOAT. I've started to despise that term now, but we still end up talking about it. But we talked about Katie Ledecky. We talked about Shohei Ohtani staying put in Los Angeles, about the Mets trading everybody by the trade deadline. We talked about Kylian Mbappe turning down $776 million. We talked about the Northwestern case and about how more players were starting to join the Northwestern lawsuit. We talked about NCAA conference realignment that is still happening. As we go talk about the NCAA preseason 25, I forget who's in what conference now. We talked about gambling at Iowa and Iowa State, the starting of NFL training camps, Sean Payton and his comments, Aaron Rodgers taking a $35 million pay cut. And that's something we actually would get a chance to mention too. He took the pay cut. I'm
gonna slide that in there.
And we see what happened.
We
talked about the U.S. women's national team making it to the knockout round. The Aces and the WNBA still rolling along as the number one team in the league. We talked about the end of TBT.
We're going to talk about that too.
We talked about the end of the TBT. We talked about the NBA and their ultimatum or their memo to Dame Dollar. We talked about Jaylen Brown getting the bag. And we gave a big shout out to our homeboy, EJ Liddell, for his new contract.
Go EJ.
Go EJ.
Go
EJ.
We
talked, a lot of stuff has happened since then. We're going to talk about that tonight.
A whole lot.
We're going to talk about that tonight. No, sports never quits. But before we get to sports, we are here. We troopering through. Because you're each and every one of y'all are our fans. We want to continue to do things for the fans.
Boogie family.
Wait a minute, is that a word? Is
trooper is a word? That's a word. Look it up.
I didn't know.
If it ain't, you better not say it ain't. We on TV right
Hypocrisy
now.
is a word too.
We on TV right now.
Hypocrisy.
We troopering through.
We troopering through.
So anyway, we laugh, y'all. You said what?
Trooper is not a verb.
I don't care. It is tonight.
Just adding words to the English language.
Tonight. Listen here, man. I'm trying to be all serious. You up here messing with my mojo. Listen. We seriously though, we laugh, we joke, we have fun. That's just who we are. Even in times like this, we find a little levity to bring into the situation just to get us through. And this is one of those times. One of our biggest role models growing up, Mr. Ira Banks, 81st Street legend. We played. He allowed us to play basketball in his yard every day. We love playing basketball with Mr. Banks. He would be out there teaching us the rules of the game, teaching us where to be in order for me and Dorian and Brian to dominate on the court.
And still be the only undefeated team ever.
One day, just one day.
We the only undefeated team ever.
The only undefeated
one day
team ever in the history of
I have
Mr. Banks.
I have to go back and look at the annals on that one.
Look at here. But anyway, Mr. Banks, unfortunately, we have to announce that our dear friend, Mr. Banks, has passed away today. So it is with deep emotions for us today that we send out our condolences to the Banks family, to his son Ira, to Mrs. Banks. We could have been doing a whole lot of other things we know without Mr. Banks. So we want to thank him for all that he did. Gave Dorian his first nickname. What was your nickname, D?
It wasn't my first nickname, but yeah,
it was in the hood. It was in the hood.
Cincinnati. Everybody knew me by Cincinnati. Like I said, I still hear him saying it to this day. Cincinnati.
He gave everybody a nickname. Everybody has something. Everybody has something. Whatever you had in your game, he's gonna figure out a nickname for you.
It was going to be said verbally.
Right.
Oh yeah, and often.
He would shout you out, but he'd also tell you when you was getting used too. You out here getting schooled today.
You getting schooled today.
You getting schooled today.
And D,
today.
What was his favorite saying, D? What was his favorite saying when he played with us?
You go that way, I'm going this way.
You go this way, I go that way.
You go that way, I go that way.
But yeah, I mean, it was very inspiring to have a mentor and somebody that actually cared to spend time with the kids of the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a father figure or a big uncle or what have you to everybody in the neighborhood, and he showed all of us love and gave us a place to be and a place to hang out and play ball and enjoy ourselves and enjoy him at the same time while he was doing his running commentation. And
right.
Yeah, and it was just it was special. We all look forward to rushing home from school and finishing our homework because we get beat if we didn't finish our homework.
Exactly.
Rush home from school, finish our homework to go to Mr. Banks' house, or me and Rod from rushing home from church. And I mean, I remember sometimes we didn't even get fully undressed out our church clothes. I'd run through my shorts and t-shirt on and still have my church socks on with my tennis shoes. I was such in a rush to get the next game. So, just to have a place to go to, every day,
Every day.
And the thing about it too is, man, he never denied us. Like, even if we went by, you could say, we'd look and see if Mr. Banks hooping today, but we could go knock on his door.
And he throw the ball out.
We say we wanted to play basketball, and he would roll the ball out. And at some point, he was going to come out there. You knew he was going to come out there. But we could just knock on his door. And even when we weren't just playing basketball, we played court ball in the alley in the back. and he would come out there and and all that kind of stuff, man. So it was just, just giving us a safe place. Now, and he let us be us. We could talk trash, we could do all that. Well, no cussing though. You couldn't cuss.
No cussing.
Ain't no cussing. Right. He wasn't gonna let you do that, but he let us, we learned how to be competitive, we learned how to be respectful. And he really showed us what it meant to be just be a good man. He was a good man. And I definitely appreciated Mr. Banks, man. And I'm really sorry to hear about his loss. That's a big piece of our childhood. When we say we played over Mr. Banks' house every day, we played over Mr. Banks' house every day.
Oh yeah,
but you know what?
If you did an ugly move, he called it an S shot.
Right, he never did not have time for us. Never.
Exactly.
You know what? It's just a testament to the fact that we have all these stories about Mr. Banks. This is a testament to how great of a person that he was. And the one thing you said, D, he never denied us. It doesn't matter. Our thing was always go over there and ask Mr. Banks, can Ira come outside? No, Ira can't come outside, but here go the ball. Y'all can't play.
Exactly. His son, Ira Jr., would get in trouble and couldn't come out. And Ira Jr. was like our little brother. So, he'd come out and, we play, he'd play ball with us and all that. So, I mean, man, we have so many memories.
Right.
So many good times. All the guys, the whole gang.
A whole show just on that by itself.
Oh, Mr. Banks playing out of Mr. Banks' house, right?
And the famous stomp in the middle of the court.
In the middle of the court, who gets to the hump
that you have to jump off of. You jump off that hump, man. You got at least six.
You learn to use it to your advantage. That's something that stuck with us our whole lives.
Right.
What may seem to be an obstacle, you have to use that as an advantage.
Use it as an advantage. So, hey, me and my
little
nine
Dorian used the hump, and he was actually about 6'4" when he's standing on the hump.
Exactly. I can't jump, but if I jump off the hump, I can get closer. So hey,
Rodney could actually grab the nets from the hump.
Hey, from the stump, I could. Hey, speak the truth. But yeah, again, we want to send our condolences from Blame It on the Boogie podcast. We love you, Mr. Banks. You're gonna be sorely missed.
We'll never forget you.
Right.
Never be forgotten. Never be forgotten. And that's what's funny is I take a lot of the stuff that he did towards us, and I do it toward the kids from our church, man. Just try to just show them that there's a lot of other things that you can do to try to be that little positive role model to say, if you want to say it like that. And I get that all from Mr. Banks. I have to give him credit that's due. So anyway, again, rest in peace, Mr. Banks. We love you.
Yeah,
now it's there is no segue from that, but we just gonna go right to the next topic. And our next topic is NASCAR driver suspended over a meme. Brother D, talk to us about that, sir.
So, driver Noah Gragson was suspended indefinitely by NASCAR and the Legacy Motor Club that he drives for, because he liked what was considered to be an insensitive meme with the photo of George Floyd's face. Right, of course, George Floyd, the brother who was murdered by the Minneapolis policeman, some years ago, that sparked all of the protests and, really started making America again look at the idea of racial justice and equity and so on and so forth again, right? Now, my point in all of this to mention this was really not to go at him for liking the meme or whatever, right? But really just this idea of social media in general. And are we now policing people for the memes and the posts and all of these things that they like on social media, right? Because what I'm sitting to myself is, well, who's responsible for that actually looked it up to see that he liked it? Because again, we all have Facebook, and if you were to go and look through all of the people that liked something that you posted, of all of the things that you post, how long would that take? So who's doing this and why? And because at a certain point, I think we have to understand that people are going to be people. And one of the things that you cannot do, unfortunately, is you cannot legislate people's point of view. You cannot, in many ways, you cannot legislate people's bad attitudes, whether it's racial attitudes, whether it's gender attitudes, whatever attitude it is, it becomes very difficult to begin to legislate that. So at what point now have we come where we are suspending players because they liked something on social media? That was really why I mentioned this.
Well, you had the same issue last year with Kyrie Irving. All Kyrie did was he didn't even he just posted a picture of a book.
Right. And check it out.
Look at all the flack that he got.
Yeah.
So, well, first and foremost, other than Blame It on the Boogie podcast that everybody needs to subscribe to and like and all that stuff, I hate social media. I can't stand it. It's one of those things that to me when it first began, it had a purpose. It was a good thing. But with so many things, we take something that's good and we pervert it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we pervert it. And that's what to me, that's what happened with social media. That's why I have a very huge dislike of social media. Again, I understand the purpose. It has a real good purpose. Like, for instance, when COVID hit, our church didn't have we couldn't congregate as a church. But through social media, we were able to still continue to have our church services and stream them online. So that was a good thing. Now the bad part comes in when, for instance, with Kyrie, people don't like what you post. These are supposed to be your own personal pages. These are your pages, your thoughts. Just because I like something doesn't mean that you have to like it. And if you don't like it, don't mean I have to like it.
And then the crazy part about that and other things is, like, you could post a picture and people will get offended by putting their own narrative on your picture or on your post. Like, Kyrie post, he just put a picture up and everybody put their own narratives to it. Well, he must have meant this and he meant this and he meant that because that says this and that says that. That's not what he said, but you said it and you got offended by what you said it said.
Right.
You made your own narrative.
You should be mad at yourself, right?
Yeah, you made your own narrative. So now you mad at him. But yeah, the policing part can go too far, Dean. And you're right. I mean, you have people that go back 5-6 years and look at posts you did 5 or 6 years ago. Now, it was a young, it was a white dude that did some stupid stuff. It was an athlete, did some stupid stuff when he was like 14 or 15.
Josh Allen.
What happened with Josh Allen? I missed that.
The quarterback from the Buffalo Bills. They went back and found something he did right when he was about to get drafted. They went back and found something that he posted or something in when he was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to paint him as being a racist and all this kind of stuff right before the draft. That's one of the first names that comes to mind. I remember that happened.
But there's been several instances. That's not the first one. That wasn't the one I was thinking about. But there's been several instances of the same thing. If you can go back to somebody 10 years ago, a person at 15 does not think the same way as a person at 25.
No,
and for you to bring up something that somebody said at 15 years old, that's wrong.
And I go even further. I mean, society was at a far different place back then.
10 years ago.
I was looking at I was looking at an Eddie Murphy interview, and everybody's talking about Raw. The movie that he made that was like the greatest stand-up, and that wouldn't fly nowadays. I mean, he would be canceled like 10 times over.
Like Dave Chappelle.
But back then, that was the greatest thing ever. Yeah. So, I mean, society's in a different place. So to judge someone based on, the past, that's, really not fair.
Eddie Murphy could not do the Mr. T joke right now.
That whole part about the LGBTQ stuff that he did when in Delirious, and then even in Raw, he did a lot of that stuff.
I can't really remember the whole Mr. T thing, right? Could you do like a piece of that, a skit of that?
No, we ain't gonna do that. Y'all can look it up. They got this thing called Google. Go look it up.
What did he say, Rod?
Man, boy. Dude's got issues, man. Dude's got issues. I pity the fool.
Fluke part 2.
No, we ain't no fluke in the day. Ain't no fluke in the day. Come on now. But yeah, but none of that stuff, none of the things, like you said, dudes, the stuff that we talked about 10 years ago, you can't do that right now. You can't.
Right. No. And it's unfair, basically. I mean, to be judged on the basis.
Exactly. What's his name? Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was. They took him being the host of the Oscars away for some stuff that he said 5-10 years before that. Come on now.
Whole different time.
Whole different time. And these social media police, man, they worse than the police we have out here, quote unquote, protecting and serving.
And this cancel culture and all this stuff. I mean, to try to stop somebody's career because you don't agree with what they said or whatever. It's a whole lot of people say things that I don't agree with, but I wouldn't want to, take food out of their families' mouths,
Right. So. No, I completely agree. I think, we've gotten to this point where not only are people canceled, but people aren't allowed redemption. And I think that's the problem that I have with it. Yeah, I could, be completely upset at what Kevin Hart said. I could find it tasteless, whatever. Whatever this meme was that he liked or whatever, I'm quite sure I would have found it very tasteless and insensitive and so on and so forth. But he liked it. I mean, we don't know what about it he liked or whatever it was. But the thing is that at this point, when is he going to be allowed the opportunity to redeem himself?
Yeah, I mean, why should that have put a halt to his career? Because he hit a button.
Exactly, because what that does is it doesn't give the person the chance to redeem themselves, but it also just makes them more angry. You know what I'm saying? And so how do you further your cause, right? If you're not giving people the opportunity to redeem themselves and accept, start thinking about what it is that you're saying to them, and then they begin to accept that, and then that kind of thing. But instead, you just say, "Okay, well, you cancel because you believe this way."
Yeah, and then I was also thinking, isn't that kind of like the bully becoming the bully?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're upset, that you were bullied, so now you're becoming the bully. So.
Right. And like I said, that's the part that I don't like, is just that part, like you said, going to that cancel culture, the idea that no one is allowed redemption. Once you are labeled that, you are forever that, and you can never change. And so that is the point, going back to what Rodney's saying, when you go back to these tweets or, posts 5-10 years ago, and now that person is just always still that same person that they were 10 years ago, and they might not have posted anything else like that for the next 10 years, but you go back to that one post 15 years ago and label them, and what that shows me is people are looking for something.
Oh yeah, I mean every all of us have changed since 15 years ago. I had hair 15 years ago. I think Rodney was like
Rodney did too.
Rodney was skinny.
I got hair. Dudes had 2 good knees and a good hip.
Right.
And now I'm trying to borrow 2 good knees and 2 good hips.
Right.
Well, I got one. I got a one new knee. So I just needed another knee and 2 hips.
But yeah, so we spending more time on this than I thought. But
we always
the question that I have though, he liked something that was a joke, right? I don't know exactly what it was. I don't know what but he thought it was a joke, so he just liked it because he thought it was a joke.
Albeit we might have found it tasteless.
Exactly. He found it funny, and that goes back to everything. The comedians are having issues right now because you can't tell a joke anymore. Because at the end of the day, whoever you tell a joke on, there's a person that joke is about. Right. So that person, that group is going to be upset with you. So now they can't say nothing. They can't say the joke because this specific subset of people is going to be mad. Right. So you're taking the comedy out of it. Now, again, I don't know what I have no idea what this post was. The other thing, it could have been one of those things where sometimes people on social media just go down and they just like everybody post, just like it. They don't even pay attention to them. They just
sometimes I've had it sometimes where I'm scrolling down and I make a mistake and hit
you accidentally
by
push
accident. Yeah,
exactly. And I had to go back and push it. Now I ain't want to like that.
Right.
Yeah. He's
ugly.
My bad. She was ugly.
You don't know what the situation was. They don't know what the situation was. But you automatically, we're gonna suspend him indefinitely. We're gonna take this money. You can't. And he was in the running for the title that they give at the end of the year. He was in the running. So now he might miss 3 or 4 different races and be out of that. So
how do you expect to change minds if all you want to do is punish and cancel? I don't see how you can do that. I don't.
I mean, you're just as small as the bully.
Now we a sports show, but we're gonna bring a little politics into this. I may not agree with your policies, right? I may not agree with your ideas or your way of governing. However, I should respect the fact that you have an opinion, that you have a direction.
Free speech,
I should appreciate that. Now we can disagree. But that's what you have to do. You talk. That's where the conversations come from. You talk about this stuff and try to figure out what will work for both of us.
Where's the common ground? Right.
Exactly. We should all be able to agree to disagree.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that.
Rodney thinks the Cowboys and the Knicks are going to win the championship.
Every year we gonna win. Y'all know that.
And he's wrong.
We strongly disagree with that.
But yet we
all still brothers.
We talk about it, So anyway, we spent way too much time on that than I thought. So we're gonna go to him, and
it's an interesting topic when you start thinking about how it pertains to other things.
And we didn't talk about NASCAR.
Right. It wasn't about NASCAR.
Yeah. It ain't about NASCAR. Ain't about that.
I'm sorry, I just can't watch folks going around in circles. Although I love Dale Earnhardt Sr., which made me like Junior. But I never watched it. But anyway, okay, sorry.
I got an interesting story about that. To remind me to tell y'all about Dale Earnhardt story.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. But to a sport, D, you said you don't like the cars going around in circles. A lot of folks don't like this next sport that me and you love. We ain't talking about NASCAR. We talking about golf.
I have a love-hate relationship with golf.
Yeah, I haven't quite got there yet.
Dude, you got to get here, man. You got to get here, bro.
I'm digging deep.
You got to get here, man. I'm telling you, once you start, dudes, you're gonna realize, you know what? I should have done this a long time ago. And you can still play, even with 2 bad knees and a bad hip. You can still play.
I got 2 bad hips.
You got 2 bad hips.
Well, that's different. No.
That's different then. You might not. But anyway, in the tournament, well, actually now it's like a week and a half ago. But still, we're gonna talk about it because it was something that was great. Bryson DeChambeau, who's a live golfer, he left the PGA, went to the live. He was one of those ones that went to the live. Y'all know about live. We talked about that so many times on these shows. If you don't remember, go back a couple of episodes and listen to us again. Matter of fact, just go and listen to all the first 22 while you're at it. Mm-hmm. But right. Bryson DeChambeau, he shot a 58. A 58. For those that are a little unfamiliar with the rules of golf, on this particular golf course, par was 72. He shot a 58. Mm. And D, I'm gonna ask dudes, dude. No, I ain't gonna ask dudes no math question.
Yeah, you might not want to do that.
I ain't gonna put you on the spot like that, dude.
we might get canceled.
He gotta go grab the paper and the pen and try to figure it out.
All the mathematicians be out.
Yeah, we might get some. Letters. Yeah, we might get some math professors to subscribe after seeing my my mathematical demonstration.
Like, how did you do that? How did you come up with that? But no, Bryson, that's 14 strokes under par. 14 strokes under par in a round of golf. Now, just to give myself a point of reference, on 18 holes, par 72, I'm shooting in the 90s. In the 90s.
Let me say that he shot a 58. I'm normally around double that, about 110, 116.
Exactly.
He was just double that.
Y'all put some big numbers.
But I'm having fun.
Having a lot of fun.
It's fun, damn it.
Having a lot of fun. And guess what, D? Guess what we're gonna be doing this weekend?
Playing golf.
Playing golf. Playing golf. I doubt if I get that 58, but I'm gonna shoot for it.
I hope I get 108.
I'm gonna try, but you know what? I bet you I'm gonna have lower than 58 in the first 9.
Right.
So, but yeah, I gotta give this man his props. He shot a 58 in the tournament. I don't care where the tournament was. I don't care which league is in. The brother shot a 58. So all props to you.
You all right. Yeah.
All props to you. And did it in a tournament.
And won.
And won the tournament.
But I guess if you shoot 58, you can't help but win the tournament.
Hey, I'm about to say you 14 strokes under par, man. I mean, hey,
in one round, right? Yeah.
But congrats to Bryson. And hopefully D and I can combine.
Nope.
No, we can't do it. Not even with best ball, we can't do it.
Like New Edition said, you can just count me out.
Come on, Eddie right there, Eddie.
Heartbreak.
Yeah, it'd be a heartbreak when I go on the golf course, man. I'll be heartbroken. Heartbroken. Y'all know how competitive I am. Me and that golf course just don't be getting along. And someone who's not getting along also is the Orioles announcer and the Orioles front office. Because how dare he talk about the state of the Orioles? And what did he get for talking about the state of the Orioles? Suspended.
But he didn't say anything. And the craziest part about it is that he didn't criticize them. All he did was state a fact.
Yeah, he certainly didn't lie.
Right, a fact that was written down for him to say. And then the owner suspended him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's dirty, man. That's dirty.
All he did was the Orioles are having a good season this year. They're having a good season. But prior to this year, they weren't doing so well.
Horrible.
So all he said was that they weren't doing so well the last few seasons.
What? No, he said that they hadn't played well in Tampa.
Uh-huh.
That's what he said. He said they haven't played well in Tampa because they finally won a season series against the Rays. And they hadn't won a season series against the Rays down in Tampa in years. And that was what he said. He said, yeah, they haven't won a series out here in years. That the Orioles have been this and this and this and this against the Rays the last 5 years. And that's why he got suspended.
Which just goes to show that these teams don't, for their announcers, they want homers. They want all they want is people to talk about all the great things that you're doing, and they don't want to bring up none of the bad stuff. they like Florida and Black history. You can talk about the good stuff, but you can't talk about none of the bad stuff. That bad stuff didn't happen.
Right.
And that's the case with this guy. Was the suspension warranted? Man, no, it wasn't warranted.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
Because they haven't been good in recent seasons. So.
Right. Exactly.
Right. It is what it is.
Man, the Detroit Tigers will be going through announcers every year if they let them talk about the team. How horrible they've been. The last
my grandmother, Big Mama, used to always say, "The truth should never make you mad." So if somebody came up and said that I was skinny, it should make me mad. I should probably just go eat some potatoes and some, What's some of the things you eat right now to get fat?
It's a pasta.
Double cheeseburgers.
All my healthiness.
Oh, there it is.
Ad placement.
Sunkiss commercial.
Ad placement. Yo, Sunkiss, holla at the boy. Holla at the boy. But yeah, that was the first baseball topic. Now this is the second baseball topic. We had the rumble in the jungle. We had a base brawl. Who was the White Sox and who was the other team? The
Guardians, I think.
The Guardians, Cleveland Guardians. Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what you had? So there was a double. He got a double. Running to second, slide to second. I guess he slid a little too aggressive. And the shortstop took offense to it, just got up and they may have said a word or two. But your boy D, I'm gonna let you tell it, D. Go on, D. Tell him what happened after he got up.
Yeah, articulate that thing, D.
After he got up from sliding to second.
He got up, sliding to second. He said something to Henderson, and Henderson said something back, and then
about his mama.
They say in hockey, he dropped the gloves. He dropped the gloves and squared up, threw a right hand, and he missed. And then Ramirez hit him with a wild right, caught him right in the jaw. Sleep.
Down goes Henderson.
Down goes Henderson. How do you let somebody knock you out with a woman's helicopter punch?
He wasn't even
looking like Helicopter Man.
He just put his head down and swung like this.
And swung, and he caught
with his eyes closed.
Right, with his eyes closed, and he caught him so good they had to carry him off the field.
Henderson, that is.
But he was the one that squared up to my own. You want to fight? All right, let's fight.
Yeah, his boxing stance looked pretty good.
He did. He had a great stance. He was up there. He was bobbing, weaving. Come on, bring it on.
And that's where it ended, right at the stance.
But the one thing they didn't teach him in boxing class was how to move the gloves up to block the punch.
Yep, they didn't teach him how to duck. He was Glass Joe out there.
Yeah, he wasn't very good at slipping punches.
No, he ain't slipped nothing.
He slipped right into one is what he did.
He slipped into a coma because that's what he got. He knocked him out. And they had to take him off the field.
And then the old Helicopter Man that knocked him out, it was like he was looking for him and he was gone.
He was surprised.
Once he opened his eyes to see where the guy was he was fighting, he didn't see him anymore.
He didn't realize he knocked him down. It's like, oh, whoa, wait, what happened?
Yeah, then he did the Urkel. I meant to do that.
But what's funny is, you the big bad, you want to start the fight and get knocked out. That's the funny part. That's the funny part. You the big bad wolf, and you the one getting knocked out.
And he was still talking tough after the fight too. Man.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Oh yeah.
And Ramirez actually appealed his suspension, and they lowered his suspension from 5 games, I think, to 2 or 3 or something. Mm-hmm. So he won the fight, and he gonna get paid. He didn't lose the bag.
I don't think Ramirez needs to try to fight Crawford anytime soon. No.
No, neither one of them.
No,
not until he can actually open his eyes while throwing a punch.
Right.
Maybe he'll do better with Spence, not Crawford. Not Crawford. But yeah, that was what was the happenings in Major League Baseball. Now let's go to another happening. And this is a bad happening for the U.S. national team, the women's national team. In the what is it? The FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
This is FIFA.
Yeah, this is FIFA.
This one is FIFA.
Yeah, this is FIFA. With the feet.
So,
right.
That's the key, right? With the feet.
Right.
The FIFA.
The B is with the basketball.
There you go. B for basketball. Gotcha. So in the FIFA U.S. Women's World Cup, the overwhelming favorites, the U.S. national team, women's national team, lost in the round of 16 to Sweden in penalty kicks. And as a result, their head coach, let me see if I can get this right this time. His name is Vlatko Andonovski. Vlatko Andonovski. He's the manager of the U.S. Women's National Team.
He was.
Well, correction. He's the former manager of the U.S. Women's National Team because he, quote unquote, resigned after the loss to Sweden. Which brings us to this. You made the point during our pregame of how he got fired, even though he has a great regular season record. Talk to us about that.
No, I was just saying basically that is that him or is it the players? If the players are playing well during the regular season, you're great during the regular season, and then all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and they blow it in the playoffs, then whose fault is that?
Who's the blame?
And I think at some point it's always interesting how often fault is found with the coach when the coach is not the one that's playing, and I for a good example to me is Doc Rivers, right? Great regular seasons. And then he gets into the playoffs, except for, the couple of years he was in Boston and they went to the finals. But other than that, they get to the second round, they get to the conference finals and they lose. But at what point is it the players that are doing this, and not how is it that everything he did worked for the regular season, but now all of a sudden you get in the playoffs and all of a sudden it ain't working anymore? So at what point do we start looking at the players and not just, having this carousel of coaches come into these different teams?
Exactly, because it could just be the players getting tight in crunch situations, and the most stressful time of the season.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, the coach obviously showed that, he can navigate, through an entire season. But, I think it's blame on both sides, of course. But, yeah, it's not always the coach, though.
Right. Not always. Right. Exactly. We know it wasn't James Harden's coach.
So, as what we're talking about, what's his name? Vlatko's regular season record. I'm not going to attempt the last name. I'm done with that. I did it once. I ain't going to do it no more. His regular season record as a head coach of the women's national team is 51 wins, 5 losses, and 9 draws. And in the World Cup, not just the World Cup, in international soccer, games decided by penalties are officially recorded as draws. So some of those 9 could actually be wins, but because they're penalty kicks, they consider them a draw. But in the majors, in the major tournaments, his record drops down to 3 wins, 2 losses, and 5 draws. So the coach that won, they won. This was they were trying to go for a 3-peat on the for the World Cup. Trying to go for a 3-peat. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, but neither did 3 years ago when they were in the Olympics. They lost in the semis in the Olympics when they were favored to do that also. So the women's national team is in a state of transition, and they're looking for a new coach now. Someone else that's in a state of transition, someone we thought was retired, is returning. Simone Biles
once
has
again
returned to competitive gymnastics. And at first she said she was not going to try to compete in 24 in the Olympics, but now that is a huge possibility. She may actually attempt to do the 24 Olympics. And the thing about it, she's only 24 years old. So, I mean, physically, you would think she'd still be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, although her first match didn't look like. Here's another word for you, Bowsian, but.
Wow, Lord.
I had to get that one for you, D. I had to get that one for you. But it didn't look like Simone Biles normally does. However,
that's what he's trying to say. A playoff for her name.
Bilesian, yes. Come on now, y'all got that. Our people did. They saw that. They know what it was. But anyway,
no, they didn't.
Simone didn't look like her normal self. However, give her time.
Was she still having the issues with the mental block, or?
But she won. Did she win?
Yeah, but she didn't win in her normal Simone style.
Fashion.
Let's say it like that. And again, it could be rushed because she hadn't been competitive for a couple of years.
Okay, yeah, so, she wins the 2023 U.S. Classic.
Mm-hmm. She hadn't been competitive for a couple of years, so I'm looking forward to her. I like watching Simone Biles do gymnastics because the girl is great.
I agree with you. You actually took the words out of my mouth when they showed the highlights.
What Bowsy?
Bowsian.
Was that the word you took?
Bowsian. Come on, man.
I don't know where you get that from. But I saw a lot of her not sticking the landings. Which again is not her. I watch gymnastics a lot. And
come on, man. We gonna put that in the vernacular of all
sports. He ain't gonna say it. I'm gonna tell you that right
now. I refuse to use that word. I refuse.
What, Bowsian?
Yes.
And he keeps saying it.
You keep saying it, and that ain't making it no better. It sound like she had diarrhea or something. Bowsian.
There you go. You said it. What's this, D? I ain't gonna say it. I made you say
it. Anyway, but no, I didn't. I was wondering when they said she won.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of like, okay, I wonder how bad really was the competition. Mm-hmm. Or if she was, that kind of thing, or if they were trying to give her a little bit of a boost or whatever because she was coming back. I don't know. But what I saw didn't look like something that would have won something like a national competition. No, I'm.
But no,
Right.
what it reminded me of is like a boxer that hasn't boxed in a while, and what they want to do, they want to give them
rust off.
Yeah, give them competitors that they know they're gonna beat no matter what.
Tomato soup cans.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what this particular competition reminded me of. I mean, don't get me wrong, the girls could they're gymnasts. They they know how to do the different
flips
events. However, they're not of the caliber of Simone Biles. They don't have the Biles effect.
When she's at her best.
Exactly. So, but what it did do is allow her to compete. She did win, so she can keep saying that she's won pretty much every event that she's been in, and it gives her the opportunity to knock a little rust off. She can get out there. She can do it again. Like I said, I'm looking forward to her doing it. I would love to see her do it. I got faith, and that would be a feat, because I don't know if any. We'd have to go search the Google to see if anyone has won 3 Olympic all arounds. That would be something. That would be a feat.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't want to say no because I'm
off the top of our heads. I can't think.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't think so. Because for the most part, they usually don't even go to 2 Olympics. Most gymnasts only go to 1 Olympic. It's a feat for them to actually go to 2 Olympics, and for her to do 3.
What was the little lady, Mary Lou Retton and all them?
No, they only did the 184.
Yeah.
That's all they had in them.
That's all they had. That's all they had.
I don't think any one of them has won more than one.
I do know there's been gymnasts that have competed in 3 Olympics, but I don't think they've actually won. They were there, and it's I want to say it was a Russian gymnast that actually I remember vaguely competing, but I don't think anybody has ever won. She actually has an opportunity if she gets back to her Bowsian ways of actually winning.
No, nobody has ever won more than 1.
See,
I thought she won too. She didn't win last year. I mean, last Olympic.
No, I remember.
She bowed out last.
Oh, that's right. That's right. She did.
It was now the last 5 winners. The last 5 all around gold medal winners have been Americans.
Mm-hmm.
But no one has won twice.
Yeah, she did. She was on pace, but yeah, she had the
she got the case of the yips.
Yeah, she had the little issue. That's probably why she wants to come back and redeem herself.
Yeah, I can see that.
But let's go, Simone. I'm with you. Let's do it. So, we'll look forward to seeing her continue to compete, to ramp it up and get ready for the 24 Summer Olympics. And now on to our next topic. We're going to move to the world of broadcasting.
The media.
To the media, which we are not. We just 3 average guys out here talking about little sports. Y'all know that. Y'all know
we ain't average, right? We ain't average.
Above average. My bad. Above average.
Yeah, we're all above average.
Above average.
Math, I might be below average.
But
they don't mind about it.
So
maybe
Shannon Sharp, who was the previous commentator on Fox's Undisputed, has left, and now they're looking for a replacement for him. And one of the names that came up is the one and only Richard Sherman, all-pro cornerback, retired from Seattle Seahawks, and then he went to San Francisco 49ers. He's one of the better cornerbacks to come around in a long time. Now, whether or not he makes it, to the Hall, that's something different. That's for another debate. Debate for another day. But first question is, will Richard Sherman if he's given the position, will he be a good replacement for Uncle Shannon? Y'all ain't got to talk together.
From what I've seen him do on NFL Network,
mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
I like Richard Sherman. I enjoyed Richard Sherman when he was a player. I enjoy his vocabulary, his Stanford education. But I don't know. I didn't get from him someone who could stand alone and do a television show. The two I don't see, because the two of them would have to carry the show. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get that. I mean, I could be wrong. I could see something different, but from what I saw on the NFL Network, I don't think
Shannon has such a huge personality.
And that's the problem.
Think that's what you need to carry a show.
That's the thing.
He set such a standard. I believe he set such a standard with Skip, with that huge personality, that it's going to be very hard to fill those shoes. I'm trying to think of what person.
That's the thing. The question is,
out there with that kind of personality could.
The question is, can he replace Uncle Shannon? And like you said, dudes, Shannon had a huge personality, and he went toe to toe with Skip Bayless. Mm-hmm. Although I ain't a big Skip Bayless fan, but they actually had a pretty good show together.
Yeah, they actually had a chemistry. Actually,
it's a small
kind of weird at times, but
I'm gonna say this: it's a small sample size of the times I've actually seen Richard Sherman on NFL Network, and I was not impressed. It wasn't one of those things where, oh man, I got to hurry up and watch this halftime show because Richard Sherman them gonna come in. It ain't like
he's not gonna blow you away.
It ain't Shaq and Kenny and Charles and Ernie. He didn't come across as someone that can fit in that group. But the thing is, I was reading today. I mentioned it earlier. I was reading today that one of the things that Skip Bayless may want, he may not want a permanent replacement for Shannon Sharpe. He may want to go the route of First Take, where there's several debaters that come on and debate him. So to be basically the Skip Bayless show with all these different guest debaters that come on,
like a rotating seat.
Yeah, the rotating seat. And I don't like Skip that much to have him be the main person in a debate show. I don't like him.
Shannon made him tolerable,
and that's what it was. Mm-hmm. When I did watch Fox, and I have to admit, I didn't watch him that much. Maybe 3 or 4 times in a month, just because I want to see something different. But when I did watch, I watched it for Shannon Sharpe, not Skip Bayless. And I wouldn't watch just so I can watch Richard Sherman. Now there's some other names that have been floated about. One being Michael Irvin, one of the greatest receivers.
It wasn't NFL Network. It was Amazon. It was the Amazon football show, not
okay.
Not NFL Network. Sorry.
Okay.
Had to make that correction.
See, we got a crack staff on the job right now.
Oh, that's what we have. D4.
A crackish staff.
But you got Michael Irvin, who's been rumored to be the replacements for Shannon, and then you have Keyshawn Johnson. Now, of the three, I love Keyshawn Johnson, man.
Mm-hmm.
I was so pissed when ESPN cut KJM. Keyshawn is one of my favorite commentators. He can talk more than just football, which is a requirement for whoever is going to take over this spot. You got to be able to talk about everything. Just like Shannon, he's a Laker fan, so that's gonna suck. But yeah, I of the options, I ain't a Richard Sherman fan. I would go with Keyshawn, but that's just me.
I would of those choices, I would go with Keyshawn. I mean, again, from the small sample size from the Amazon show, because and reason I had to remember that it wasn't NFL Network, because I remember he was on there with the big left tackle Wentworth, who was a former Bengal, of course. So I was like, well, he wasn't on NFL Network, and then I remembered it was Amazon. But anyway, from what I saw on the Amazon show, I was kind of like about their whole crew. I was kind of like I don't know about them. So that's why I just can't see him being able to keep a show. I just don't see that. I can see Keyshawn being able to do it though, because again, Keyshawn can talk about more than just football. I haven't heard Richard Sherman talk about anything other than just football. I was surprised that Shannon Sharp was able to talk about anything other than football. But all they ever talked about was the Cowboys and LeBron. That's all Skip want to talk about.
Oh man,
Cowboys and LeBron all the time.
You could put that in stone that was going to be the topic of the day.
There's nothing wrong with talking about the Cowboys, but he got to leave that LeBron subject alone, man. Don't nobody care about LeBron.
There we go. Anyway,
or the Cowboys.
So yeah, or the Cowboys. But yeah, so that's my only thing. So if he's the replacement, I hope he does well. I'd like to see it, but from what I saw, I just don't think so that he could carry a show. So
if they hire him as a replacement, hey, congratulations, Richard. It wouldn't be my choice, but hey, I want to see you succeed.
We want to see the brothers working.
Yeah, if it's a brother, hey, there you go. Now, if it's Max Kellerman and Skip Bayless, I don't know about that one. But speaking of staying in the world of
broadcast,
sports commentating.
Yeah, commentating.
Sage Steele and ESPN have finally parted ways.
No, Sage, no.
This is like I think this was like, what was it, 2021? Was it 2021? Or was it 2020 during COVID?
I thought it was 20. It might have been. Hold on, let me see.
What happened 2021?
When so Sage Steele had some comments that she made on a podcast.
It was she made the comments in 2021 on the Jay Cutler podcast.
On Jay Cutler's podcast, where she talked about ESPN and Disney and being frustrated over them making her get vaccinated.
Vaccine
among other things. Among other things. And ESPN suspended her. And then she sued. So during the time that they were in quote unquote litigation, she still kept her job. She was still on Sports Center. But last month they settled this court battle. And with that court battle came the decision to let Sage go ahead and let's leave. Which I'm not a Sage Steele fan. So, again, I don't want to see anybody lose their job or anything like that. So I ain't gonna say nothing bad about her.
Well, they mutually parted ways, so it's not like she was fired.
Yeah, you know what that means.
I think that when you have a situation like that in a workplace, at a certain point, I don't think it's really advantageous, for either party to work there. They weren't going to be able to work out, any differences that they may have at that point. Once you've already sued them, do you really want to work there anymore? I think, again, that was all just waiting until whatever settlement or whatever happened. Because
the contract or whatever.
Right. And also because if they had fired her during that, well, then you got to pay her back wages and all that kind of stuff. So it was probably just easy to let her continue working until they reached a settlement. And then probably part of that settlement was probably a severance at some point or another. I couldn't see her coming back to work for them after, filing suit or whatever. But that interview was interesting because she talked about the vaccine mandate. She also talked about women sports reporters, about how they dress and how they should dress and shouldn't dress, and basically saying that that any unwanted attention is something that they brought upon themselves by the way that they dress. So she did a lot of victim shaming, and then she talked about President Obama and about it was kind of along the lines of the whole birth certificate thing, but she started talking about how it is that he identified as Black even though he was abandoned by his Black father, and it was just real interesting, the kind of stuff that she was getting into on the podcast. So I think that it was kind of a totality of all of those things that got her suspended, not just the fact that she talked about the vaccines. I think that she got into politics, period, was something that was problematic, because that's what happened basically with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill when they were uncomfortable with the two of them talking about politics, right? So I think that Sage Steele, even though she's on the conservative side, obviously, I think she fell right up under that umbrella.
The Sage know that whenever you have a Black parent, they're gonna always make you Black?
Well, I mean, she may not be understand. She may be one of those people who, understand at this point now, we've gone into this idea of identification that you can identify however you want to identify.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely correct. She can identify with whatever she wants to identify with.
Yeah, Rachel DeLiesel. We had all these people who identified as other things, right? As other ethnicities, as other races. So all that kind of thing is into it, but I just think that she just kind of went a little too far with her opinions or whatever. I think that was really the problem.
Speaking of going too far, we spending too much time on Sage Steele. That's too far. So, like I said, I'm not a fan of her, so I don't want to give her no more time. I agree.
I can't say that I was a fan, but I'm not going to say because I wasn't a fan, and that was basically primarily because of her views. She was still good at her job. She's still very good. She does a really, really good job on ESPN. I don't want to take that away from her. She really did a really good job.
All right. So we are now, I think I saw it was like 20 some odd days, or no.
Oh, you're ready for some football.
No. It's 28 days until NFL football. But I think college starts in like 2 weeks, doesn't it, D?
You got me on that one. When
2
does college
start?
Yeah, I think college football starts in 2 weeks. Let me see schedule. Come on, ESPN, give me a schedule. August the 26th.
August 26th, Notre Dame against Navy over in Ireland. Isn't it?
That is
my birthday.
That's not 2 weeks. That's a week and a half.
Yeah,
that's next week.
We're gonna have some football next Saturday. Next Saturday, we got college football starting next Saturday. So D, break down the top 25 schools for me.
All right, so
preseason
top 25 is UGA. We got Georgia, Michigan, Muck Michigan. Ohio State, Alabama,
Alabama.
LSU,
Alabama.
USC. Well, actually, I should give the numbers, shouldn't I? Coming in at number 1 is Georgia. Number 2 is Michigan. Number 3 is Ohio State. Number 4 is Alabama. Number 5 is LSU. Number 6 is USC. 7 is Penn State. 8 is Florida State, one of my favorite teams other than Ohio State and Illinois, of course. Number 9 is Clemson, and rounding out the top 10 is Washington. Are they in the Big Ten yet?
They'll be in Big Ten next year.
Okay, so yeah, that rounds out the top 10. So 11 is Texas, 12 is Tennessee, 13 is Notre Dame, 14 are the Utes. Did you say Utes?
The two Utes.
The two Utes. Did you say Utes? Number 14 is Utah. Number 15 is Oregon. 16 is Kansas State. 17 is Texas Christian or TCU. Number 18 is Oregon State. Nobody wants Oregon State, but they ranked in the top 18. Very interesting. 19 is Wisconsin, and coming in at number 20 is Oklahoma. Number 21 is University of North Carolina. 22 is Ole Miss. 23 is A&M, Texas A&M. Number 24 is Tulane, and rounding out the top 25 is Iowa. Despite all of the gambling, they still gonna play football.
So now here's the question. With another thing that happened is since we last talked, there was more. D just alluded to it. There's more transition in college football conferences. So last week we had 2 conferences that decided that they wanted to grow a little bit at the expense of the Pac-12. You had Washington and Oregon going from the Pac-12 to the Big 38.
Right.
And then you have what was it, Arizona? Who was it? Arizona State? And then who went to the Big 12?
Yeah, Arizona State, yeah.
Arizona State leaving the Pac-12, going to the Big 12. Now the Pac-12 is now down to 4 teams.
The 4-pack.
You got Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford, and Cal. Those are the 4 teams left in the Pac-12. So what that does, with them having 4 teams, they no longer have an automatic path to the playoffs. They don't have that, and they don't have a TV contract at the end of this year, which is the reason why all the other teams left in the first place. So the thing is there even a Pac-12? Do we still have a Pac-12?
They're gonna be the 2-pack.
What are they trying to do? What are they gonna do?
They're gonna go somewhere. Somebody will take them. They'll end up in the Mountain West.
So you think they're gonna just basically fold the whole Pac-12 and move the teams to another conference?
Yeah.
Or do you think they're trying to poach some other teams from another conference and come out west?
No, because it's all about TV contracts. Why would I leave someplace to go another place that number 1 doesn't have a TV contract, and number 2 has no prospect of getting any TV contracts? And because I'm a team coming from, if the Pac-4 is going to get anybody, they're not going to get any of these big schools. All the big schools left them. So they're going to end up with, Boise State, Utah State, those kinds of teams. And that's not going to get them any TV contracts.
Mm-mm.
So if I'm those school presidents, and this is about getting TV contracts and getting money, then I'm moving to another conference. I'm not trying to get schools to come to my conference. Nobody's paying to watch, Wyoming and Idaho State, play against anybody, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so no, I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to end up dissolving altogether. I mean, I could be wrong. But I don't really see the Pac-10's pull being strong enough because of the fact that they don't have a TV contract. That's the reason that those schools left. So I think it would be hard to attract school.
The biggest issue that the Pac-12 had was the fact that as much as players like going out west and playing out west, for TV networks, it's not really a profitable. It's not a profitable situation.
It's horrible
because
having lived out here for the last 3 years, 4 years. It's terrible.
And the reason all the games start at 9, 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast.
Bruh. So
where the majority of the country lives, they're not watching those games. So why would I pay you $50 million like they wanted to televise your games when nobody's really watching your games? I mean, you have the diehards. I mean, I'm gonna watch a West Coast game on a Saturday night because I'm watching football on a Saturday night. But that's just me. Everybody's not like me. Well, you are. You're gonna watch them,
right.
No matter where you are.
Right.
But there's not a lot of people on the East Coast that watch the West Coast, those midnight games. And you literally have midnight games on the East Coast. And nobody's staying up on a Saturday night watching as you say, Utah State going against some non-directional school in
Northeast Nevada.
Nevada Northwest or something. Nobody's going to sit up and watch those games.
Except their relatives.
Exactly.
Right.
So they're in
relatives.
Right. So and when they allowed USC and UCLA to leave and come to the Big 38, that was a death knell right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that Los Angeles is their biggest market. So you looking for a TV contract and you just lost your biggest market.
Your biggest draw. Yeah.
Even if I was thinking about giving you $50 million, you lost LA market. If you was worth $50 million then, now you're worth 20. So,
but you know what's funny though, when you say that, is that the other biggest market is still there. Nobody wants those schools.
Stanford and Cal and Stanford.
Yeah, the Bay Area is a huge market, but nobody wants Stanford and Cal, the two best academic schools in the Pac-4. I don't get that.
I think the last time Cal was relevant was when they had Aaron Rodgers.
Were they really that relevant then? The last time they were relevant was during the game.
Yeah, with the band.
With the band.
And the band played on.
Right.
So, but yeah, now Stanford is that's the one team that I don't that one college I don't understand why they're having a hard time getting somebody to want them. I understand
now the best athletics department overall. They have the best athletics department in the country.
Exactly. When you consider all sports.
Yeah.
And they have great academics. So they are picture perfect for the Big Ten, what the Big Ten quote unquote, considers themselves. A good academic conference and a good sports conference. That's what Stanford is. Stanford would be a great. I would rather have Stanford than Notre Dame. I hate Notre Dame. I would rather have Stanford than Notre Dame.
I would rather have Stanford than Notre Dame too.
In the Big 38.
I would too. And I think also what people are also overlooking, and this is something I heard somebody, I forgot who it was. They said this on the radio not too long ago. She made the comment. I can't not think of who it was, but she made the comment that people are forgetting that when you start talking about Olympic sports, Stanford, all your swimmers, if you think about your gymnasts and so on and so forth, went to Stanford. From Dominique Dawes, right? Track and so Stanford is good all around, they're good in everything. They've been down in football since Andrew Luck graduated, but they're still good in everything else. They're good in women's basketball. I mean, they forever good. Tara Vanderveer is forever taking Stanford to the Final Four in women's basketball. They forever winning the national championship in swimming. It's crazy. When you look at those at the end of the year, when ESPN does the all around college championships or whatever, Stanford is always up there.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, they have a great athletic department. And the thing about it, Stanford is one of those schools that, it's great to get that $30 million on that TV deal, but they don't really have to have it. Their endowment is humongous. They really don't want to use that for the athletic department, but they could if they needed to.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I do think that Stanford and Cal will be in the Big 38. And Washington State and Oregon State, they're gonna go to the what is it? The WAC, not the WAC. What do they call it?
The Mountain West.
Mountain West. They're gonna be in the Mountain West, man. They're gonna have to go there. The music is about to stop. There's only 2 chairs left. Y'all better grab them. Better grab them. But we got football in 11 days. Another football related story this week.
Where did you get 11 from? The game is the 26th, man. Today is the 17th. That's 9.
Yeah, 9 days.
Oh, that was Dudes that told me 9. Dudes did the math. What?
Yeah, just go with it, dude. We'll go with it, dude.
Yeah. Don't be asking no questions.
Look, dude, I know the truth because my birthday is next Friday, but we'll just let him keep that.
I don't know why I got it. Whatever the case is, look, man. Y'all know it's late in my time. Can we finish this? Let's talk about this boy. Let's talk about this boy. A story that came out this week. Michael Orr. If you those that remember, there was a movie out in 2009, I think it was 8, 9, somewhere around there. Might have been sooner than that, but anyway, the movie was entitled "The Blind Side," and it's about Michael Orr, who was a offensive tackle, played for the University of Mississippi, and also was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. Excuse me. Wow, they came out of nowhere. Drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And in Michael's story, he grew up in an impoverished area in Memphis. Mother was, addicted to drugs, and he basically raised himself. He was, sleeping in cars, doing all kind of stuff, until the family. He got real close to a family, and they took him in. And as the story goes from the movie, they helped him to get the kind of support that he needed, and he actually got a scholarship to play football at the University of Mississippi, and then played there.
They adopted him in the movie too, right?
And they adopted him in the movie, allegedly.
Yeah,
at least that's what the movie said.
Yeah, that's what I said. In the movie, they adopted.
That's what the movie said.
I just watched that the other day, and I don't remember them actually adopting him in the film. They make the comment, they ask him, does he want to be a part of the family?
Okay.
But I don't remember anywhere in the movie where them actually saying that he was actually being formally, officially adopted. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where him signing actual adoption papers.
Well, whenever that movie was, did you look it up? When was it?
The movie was 2009. You were right. That's why I didn't
It
say
is online. Okay. So that's when I saw the movie. So I don't remember all the details and didn't think I was going to have to even pay attention to the details after that movie.
Did you cry when you saw it?
No, not at all. That's
Like the little lump in your throat.
That's not one of those
tearjerker.
You know, you happy for the brother because he's a brother. Yours getting me, bro. But anyway, but this week, Michael Orr filed a lawsuit against the family. The family's name is Tui. He filed a lawsuit against the Tui family, stating that they told him he was that they adopted him, but they never did. That they actually had a conservatorship, and they made all the profits off the movie, and he made nothing. So that's what he claimed earlier in the week. Then when you get towards the middle part of the week, as always, those that are accused always have to strike back. And the Tui family came back with the attorney for the Tui family came back saying Michael Orr got all the money that he was entitled to from the movie. Now, what that means, I don't know. Sounds good. Sounds like good lawyer speak, saying that this is what he was entitled to. But what did the actual contract say? This is his life story. Technically, he's entitled to the majority because it's his story. But
what kind of contract did he sign? Yeah.
There you go. Hey, what kind of contract? It's all about the contract. It's all about the contract. We had a discussion in our text chain about different artists' contracts, different musicians' contract, how much they make. Same thing here. Michael Orr, what's in the contract? What did the contract say? And what did you sign? But they had the conservatorship for him, so basically they could do whatever it is that they wanted to do, and make whatever they wanted to make, and give him whatever they wanted to give him. So, what was your thoughts on that, D? When you read that story?
All right. Well, first off, let me say that this is the first time I watched the movie, and I kind of didn't watch it all the way necessarily through. It was kind of on while I was doing something else. I never wanted to watch the movie because I saw it as another white savior movie. I'm not going to even lie to you. I really saw it as that when I saw the previews and so on and so forth. No matter how genuine or whatever the Tui's were being, I saw that film as another white savior movie. Right.
That's what it was.
Right. Yeah, and so that's why I didn't watch it. Okay. What I'll say is that, interestingly enough, you sent me something from our guy who I don't like him. I hate him so much that I'm not going to even say his name.
The man whose name we will never speak on this show.
I'll give him credit for I'll give him credit for doing his research, as he said. Okay. But this is the thing about this conservatorship. They had to sign the conservatorship because he was too old to adopt. So they signed the conservatorship, from what I'm gathering, so that he could be able to get into school and enroll at Ole Miss, right? Because he had to do a whole lot of stuff as far as making up a lot of work or whatever, because his GPA had been so low because he had gone from school to school to school to school, that he had to take some other classes. He had to take like some type of correspondence courses and so on and so forth just to get his GPA up. And they hired a tutor in order to be able to do that. And that was the other thing about the movie is that they really made him come off as really dumb, right? And that was one of the things that I kind of didn't like about that either. But what I'll say is that based off the criticism from the guy whose name we will not ever say on this show,
ever.
The thing about this is that, can we really say that at 18 he understood what he was signing in terms of a conservatorship? If you're talking about, if you're portraying him as somebody who needed a tutor, who needed all of these things in order to raise his GPA because of, the trauma and that kind of thing that he had been through with his family. He hadn't been able to attend school on a consistent basis to be able to get those skills and so on and so forth that he needed, that you had to hire a tutor to work with him every day. Do you really think he understood the language in the conservatorship? Right now, my problem with the conservatorship is not necessarily the conservatorship in general, because it may have been necessary for him at the age of 18. Why do you still have this and he's now 37? If you were going to have it, if it was about altruism, if it was really about taking care of him and so on and so forth, then okay, you have the conservatorship. But once he graduates from college or whatever it is, well, then you stop the conservatorship. Why are you continuing to have this? And so I don't think, I disagree with the person whose name we will not say, in the sense that he may have known he was signing a conservatorship. That doesn't mean that he understood the implications of it. And I think that what happened is that, for people who, as Rodney has said on a number of occasions, people who take so long to do things, I think that the reason that it took him so long is because it probably didn't affect him until he was trying to do some business or do something on his own. And then he was told by some lawyers, you got this conservatorship and you can't do such and such and such and such. And it was like, oh, well, wait a minute. So then he comes to this revelation. He finds out all this information now in terms of what this conservatorship was really all about. And the fact that I'd be mad too if I found out that you had this conservatorship over me for 20 years. I'd be upset about that too. So again, I hope that everything, was really altruistic and like Hugh Freeze was saying in the article that I read, because he was Michael Orr's coach in high school and also at Ole Miss, right? He got hired out of Ole Miss. So he was saying that what he saw at high school was really a family trying to take care of a young man. And I really hope that that's what it was, that they really had everything. It's essentially had his best interest at heart. I really hope that, but it shouldn't have been something that should have been ongoing, that now 20 years later, you're talking about, well, we're going to cancel the conservatorship and Michael will get everything that is owed to him. No, it should have never gotten this far in the first place. That's what I think.
So my issue with it, especially with, again, the brother that we will not discuss, what you were talking about, Dean, you don't know what Michael knew. You don't know if he understood what it was that he was doing when he allowed them to take to become his conservators. But they did. They knew exactly what the conservatorship would do. They knew that they would be able to take control over all of his stuff. Now, again, maybe at the age of 18, they didn't feel that he would be able to take care of his own personal business at that time, right?
Right.
But the brother went to Ole Miss for 3 years at least. I know he was there for 3 years. I don't know if he stayed for 4, but I know he was there for 3 years and got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens and first round. So he got a nice contract. Why are you still his conservative? Why do you feel that he needs to have you as his conservator?
Right.
And then had his whole career, got a second contract. You still his conservator. Here it is, 15 years later. He's what, 37, you said, D?
Yeah, he's 37.
37 years old, and you still have this conservatorship over him.
Right.
And the only time you ever said anything, oh, we're gonna cancel the conservatorship is when he brings it out. But my issue, when I sent you that article, my issue with your boy is that you don't look at that angle. You don't go to that part. You immediately go to, oh, he's trying to do the people that did all this stuff for him wrong. He's such a bad person, blah, blah, blah. these people, there was no reason in the world for them to continue to be over his personal finances for as long as they were. Now, if I hire you to do that, that's completely different. If I ask you to do that, that's completely different. But for you to know, oh, he got this contract, oh, we in control of it, right? And then their excuse is, oh, we was rich before you got here. That's not an excuse. Rich people don't stop wanting to make money. They want to make money all the time.
Right.
The lawyer comes out, oh, he sold his business for $200 million. And what my man Eddie Murphy said, now we got $200,008.
Right.
So they got all their money plus his. So now I'm gonna spend his first. You never know. So and that was my biggest issue with your boy. The situation, it could have been handled differently, and it should have been handled differently because like you said, if they did this thing in an altruistic way where they were only concerned about Michael Oher and his well-being, they could have done this completely different, private, without going the attorney route. But then the first thing that they want to say is, oh, he's trying to extort us for monies. Well, if he came to you and say, hey, I want my share of the money, that's because you didn't give him his share of the money. You kept it. Right. So and that's what they did. You always have to put blame on the accuser. The accuser's wrong. There's always a motive or whatever. My phone call was perfect. It was a perfect phone call. These people are crazy, blah, blah, blah. So that was my little 2 cents on Michael Oher and the Tuohys. Again,
and I'm almost certain that of course we know at his young age he didn't fully understand the parameters of the conservatorship, and kind of what Dorian was saying kind of gave me a different perspective. When he, it could have been a situation where later on when he went to do some business, and that's when he became made aware of whatever the parameters of the conservatorship was, and it probably shed some light on some other things that were going on that he was also unaware of. So,
right, it's like Ice Cube, right? He talks about how they was on tour, they was just kicking it, they didn't know what was going on. He said, and then when Jerry Heller, approached them all with the check for $75,000, that was when he was like, well, wait a minute, hold on. How is it I'm doing all of this and I'm looking at all this and then all $75,000? Wait a minute, hold on. Let me go have somebody look at this. And that's what I kind of think is what happened. It hadn't affected him because it probably didn't affect his NFL money. Probably that conservatorship probably didn't affect any of that. So probably he was making the money and wasn't even thinking about it. And then it was something else he was trying to do and was like, okay, wait a minute. And then once he found that out, he's like, well, hold on. Well, if they had the rights to this, well, then they had this, and this. Well, how come I didn't receive? That's exactly. That's what I think.
How deep does the rabbit hole go?
Right, exactly. That's what I think happened. So
and I don't believe this. The attorney said that all the Tuohys made off the movie was $100,000. That's what their attorney said.
I'm not buying that.
That movie grossed what, $300
million? Yeah, I'm not buying that. The movie grossed
$300 million, and he said the Tuohys only made $100,000.
You gonna tell my life story, and all you gonna give me is $100,000? That's the budget of the movie. the budget of one scene in the movie is $100,000. Come on now. Now that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. So, and they're saying because Michael Oher said all he got was like $15,000.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to make it sound like, oh, he's trying to extort us, man. And that which your point, D. It could have been He might have just been sitting at home one day, flicking through the channels, and the movie pop up. So he look at this movie and be like, man, and then go on Google and look, how much did this movie make? It made $300 million, and I got 15,000. And this my life? Oh, we can talk about this. Right. You know, it could have been some anything. And that again, which goes back to my point about your boy, right? Before you go out there and start blasting somebody, why don't you find out the absolute truth? Yes, he did a little bit of research and he found this out and he found that out, but he didn't find out the whole story. Until you get the whole story, don't go out there disparaging people and you don't know what happened. And that's my issue with him, right? And again, say again.
I said all together, period. Yeah. That's my issue with him too.
Yeah, but I mean that's just this particular situation right here. I got a lot of other issues with him, but on this subject, that's my issue. My issue with him.
Don't blame it on sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie.